Ini parah nih.
Live, guys. This is the first episode of the Quick Turns podcast. That's what we're gonna call it. So welcome to that. And this is gonna be like an introduction, you know, just kind of getting to know us and what we're even trying to do here.
What we're about.
Right. So
this is Lilo.
This is our wiener dog Lilo. We are joined today by. She is graced us with her presence.
She's a full-bred dachshund. She's looking for a boyfriend. Just saying, throwing it out there. I want puppies.
All right, we're going quick to that then. All right, first 30 seconds and we're already trying to get the dog bred.
But she models clothes, so just saying.
All right, so this is also the Lilo podcast. In case you were wondering, this is also about the dog and other wiener dog things.
Yeah.
So you wanna go ahead and introduce yourself? Obviously, I know you. I know who you are.
I'm Mandy. Nice to meet you guys.
So this is my wife Mandy, and she's been working in a lot of different places.
Customer service over 10 years.
I've always said that you could write a book about your life, and it would be amazing. So
yeah.
You want to just like give us like
a rundown?
I mean we can't get into all that in one episode. I feel like so.
No.
Like I said, we go into the customer service aspect of your life because this is the Quick Turns podcast, and if you don't know what a quick turn is,
it can be anything from aviation to restaurants to just.
We learned it from the aviation world, where it's like when a plane's coming in and leaving right away, so you got to rush through all the services. And also when you're working a shift, like you're closing and then you're opening the next day, that's called a quick turn because it feels like you never left work.
It's more common in the aviation industry, that's for sure. But you know, quick turning tables.
It's definitely a relatable term that can kind of relate to everything.
Customer service for sure.
Yeah. So customer service, that's an interesting. It's a word. Like, who are you servicing?
Everybody and anybody that walks through that door, you have to just like give them that wow factor, you know, every time.
Yeah, so why is it that every time I go to a store I get greeted with a crap face?
That's because you have bad customer service.
Bad customer service?
They're just not excited to be there. They don't like their job. You know, the typical rundowns. But you gotta fake it to make it.
Right.
You think I enjoyed sitting at a bar that was empty every morning? No, that was boring. But when somebody came in, I have to be that hype person. I gotta make you want to drink. I gotta make you want to spend your money here. You're not gonna come there, I'm gonna be not talking to you, not socializing with you, and you're just gonna sit there?
No.
You're gonna have one drink and you're gonna pay your tab and leave.
It's definitely part of the experience. Like, I feel like I could have like the best meal, and then just from the service, like I'll just ruin the whole experience just from the service. It
really matters. If you're busy, that's normal. Like you're in the weeds, it happens. And the weeds means you're like so far behind that you don't see it ending.
So let's go into in the weeds. Tell me about a moment where you've been so deep in the weeds that you couldn't see your way out of it.
See,
Tell us about it.
I don't get it there. I found solutions.
You've never been in the weeds?
I've never felt where I couldn't get out. I've never felt like I never saw the end. Have I been in the weeds? Of course. I've been busy as shit.
Like for me, it was that time that my register was like negative $1 billion, it felt like.
He's just really bad at registers.
I felt like I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel there.
Oh, that was great.
So that was in the weeds for me.
Yeah, no, in the weeds for me would have been like when I was working at Lilo Sports Bar. And like there you're in it. That was like my first real restaurant that I worked at. The nightlife, you go in at 6 and you're there till 5 o'clock in the morning. You're the closing shift. So you have the whole pool hall area and then like an area of tables that you have to stay on top of because on the weekends there's a band, so you have the band crowd. So the moment the band starts till about 3 o'clock in the morning, because the band ends around 1 or 2, and then you get an hour of the crowd that's coming in for the late night. Now that late night crowd is the one that you make the most money from, because it's most people from like restaurants and stuff. No, it's most of the restaurant people are getting out, so they're coming. And when you look out for in the biz people always look out for you. That doesn't mean give people free drinks. You don't have to give people free drinks for them to spend money. You know, that's the number one mistake in the service industry, in the bar industry, and everything. You can buy one cocktail, put it on your tab, and then you pay for it, and you can make 7 shots out of it and serve 7 drinks.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've always wondered, how does that whole free drink thing work? Like if I go in and then the bartender gives me a free drink, is she paying for that, or is he paying for that, or am I gonna end up paying for that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is a lot of the times bartenders are stealing from the restaurant.
Stealing from the restaurant.
Stealing from the restaurant, and that's where your liquor count's always messed up. If you're an owner, you see like you have a liquor count that's messed up because they're not putting the spills or the, you know, you have mess ups. That's normal. So they're used to losing money. So if you're just honest with your managers, most of the time they're about it because they want to create that experience for that customer just as much as you do. The only thing is they don't want you looking out for your friend that's still going to give you the same $5 tip that you and you're giving away all this alcohol for what? They're not doing anything for the restaurant. They're not doing anything for your pocket. Why are you risking your job for them?
So if they don't want to steal, what do they do?
So some bars, it depends where you work. Like some places, first time guests, they'll give you a free drink or something like that, and they'll just have like a comp tab. So the bartender opens up a separate tab, like as if somebody was sitting at the bar on a random seat that never gets used, and they put comp tab. Then they make another one that's spill tab. So any liquor that spills, or somebody says, hey, I didn't like this, and you have to toss it, that goes on your spill tab. At the end, the managers come and they put spill, why it got spilled, you know, give them the reasons, and they put the reasons on the computer. That goes into voids or comps, depending on the situation.
So there's like an option to like give a person a free drink, and the restaurant will just eat it up, or
you put it on a separate tab.
like it's a birthday drink or something.
Yeah, you can do that too. Birthday drinks, again, it's a separate tab. So you have your comp tab, and then you have your spills. So your spills and stuff are there. Voids are if you bring up a double, and it wasn't a double, so you're just voiding it off because it will mess up your liquor count. But if you put all that stuff in, your liquor count will always be perfect because you're accounting the liquor that you spilled, that you dropped. Now again, I have always some places like Little Hoolies, when the bartenders wanted to buy drinks, they did things very by the book because they had 13 people that worked for them. So everybody had to know how to do everything. And if you didn't, the place didn't run good. And when I worked there, I was there with the last group that literally opened the doors to that location. I was the first hire from them. And then after that, I left for a year. And when I came back, there was just me and the girls I got hired with. So, and a couple of the old ones that were still there that hung out and, you know, stood around for a little while and made sure we were all good. Once the new crowd started getting in, they changed locations. That's when COVID hit and everything, and they closed down.
Is that like a chain, or is it just the one?
No, it was just one. But they just like, they had it figured out, man. They really did. And it was because everybody in that industry worked for restaurants for so long, and they were all older. So like I was 19 and everybody else was 27 and up when I started there. So I'm brand new to the
So you're 19 working at a bar.
Working at a bar. The only reason, okay, so you can serve alcohol.
I'll tell you how that works, Florida.
No, you can serve alcohol at the age of 18. You can serve alcohol at the age of 18. I was already bartending and working at like golf courses and stuff, like little hole-in-wall places, and I was teaching myself how to bartend on boats. But I actually got that connection because of Little Hoolies. We'll go into that. I met a lady named, we won't say, I don't know how she feels about that because we're not the best of friends.
We'll call her...
She was just a lady
Candy.
that I lived with. I moved in with her and I rented out like a part of the house. Ended up paying the rent and stuff because we were really good friends. She had her life, I had mine, but I worked and...
Was that the lady that was like crazy into the
to coke and and dieting pills and stuff like that, but like she was very coked out all the time. But she had 2 kids and her daughter was best friends with my sister.
You guys see how like the story just gets thicker and thicker the more you dig into her? Like it's crazy, and that's why like I love you so much. It's because it gets so deep that it's like a never-ending story.
It really is.
You know what I mean? You ever heard the story of the 10,001 nights in? I'm messing up the name, but it's like 10,001 like Arabian Nights or something like that.
No.
So the king, right? There's this king who's like super powerful. She's trying to eat your slippers this whole time. So this king, every day he sleeps with a different woman and then kills her at the end.
Okay.
So every day he picks a woman and then at the end of the whatever they're doing, she gets X'd out.
So he's like a Black Widow, but it's a man.
But he does it on purpose.
Yeah.
So he gets to this one lady. And the lady says, hold on, before we have any kind of intercourse or anything, let me tell you a story. I like to tell stories. The guy's like, okay, whatever. Let's let her tell her story. And then she tells like a really good story. But she doesn't give him the ending. she leaves him on a cliffhanger.
That's another tip, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll get into that too.
And then she's like, all right, well, that's it. Well, I'm done for the night because the story lasted, all night. All night she was talking. And then at the end, the guy couldn't kill her because he wanted to know the story so bad. Like, he wanted to know what was the ending, and she never gave it to him. For as long as it was around, like, she kept like leading it on into a different story, and it never really ended. It's something like that. If I butcher it, I'm sorry, but that's the message.
So what he's saying is, I never shut up. That's good. We love you too.
I'm gonna take a drink to that. So, what do you think about this whole like YouTube thing? How do you feel about this? Like talking in front of a camera and.
The talking in front of the camera.
Because that's like a new thing where like a lot of people are doing this now. So.
Yeah, it's different. That's for sure. Being like, oh hey, there's a big fucking light over there.
Right.
Excuse my language.
It's YouTube. You don't have to excuse nothing. It's good.
But yeah, so it's just like awkward at first. But like again, being in the restaurant industry, you're used to stuff like that around because of the bands, the things. So you're used to all the lights and the noise.
It's also appropriate because you have the context of being
in a restaurant.
This is in your house.
In your house, the environment that you're in, that is where it mentally messes with you, I think. Like, of course, everybody goes through their like stage fright. I luckily got over that because I had no choice. I had to become a bar manager and just talk about things to people and everybody. So.
Yeah,
and
you've had to be on commercials and stuff before, right?
Yeah. So. First commercial was Little Hoolies.
Third time Little Hoolies gets mentioned today, by the way.
Game Time, I did a commercial too.
Are they open still, Little Hoolies?
Little Hoolies is not open. They got closed down because of COVID.
Yeah, it's getting all this free sponsorship and advertising.
Game Time was the first restaurant I worked for. I quotation restaurants because it's like a Dave & Buster's, but it's out here in Florida.
For me, the hardest part about the YouTube thing is like recording out in public. Like I always get so worried that everybody's like staring.
People are looking at you.
But then it's like, who even cares? You know what I mean? Like, let me do my thing.
Let me ask you a question. Let's try to put it in a different perspective.
It's a tough word.
Yeah, well, English is tough for me, even though it's my first language. You guys will notice that on this podcast. When you're riding a bike or playing football, do you care that people are watching?
No.
Because why? Because you're into the...
But the thing is, if I was like learning to throw a football and I had a bunch of people watching me, I'd feel like worried about it. I'd be more worried about it. So like when you're learning the YouTube thing and you're not really sure about it, right. you feel that energy more as opposed to just being like super confident.
When you learned how to axe throw, did you care that people were watching us?
Yeah, but I was at a bar and I was like,
people were drunk. Like alcohol, okay. They had alcohol that influenced you a little bit. Liquid encouragement. Alright. There's been so many things that we've done.
It comes down to once you have the confidence in what you're doing and you know that you're gonna you know the process and you know what you're doing, it becomes easier and you're not worried about what other people think. As opposed to in the beginning, you're still figuring the shit out. So you feel like you're running around with your head cut off type. Yeah, you just feel like you look dumb.
Right. But you can't think like that. Think about like working out. When you work out, you know, that's like a big fear of a lot of people. Like when you work out, people watching you and stuff. Like going to the trails and doing a little workout. Yeah. That's a thing for you. That's a thing for me. I don't care for it. So
that's actually a perfect example because imagine you're like the fat guy at the gym working out. You feel all the stares. But if you're already super jacked and ripped, you don't care who's staring. You're confident. You know what you're doing. You know what you look like. So
it's all about like, okay, so that guy that's confident, he's not confident in his body and stuff. It doesn't necessarily be that. That guy could be insecure as shit. You know, like you don't know his mental stability, but the difference is between that guy and the fat guy is he's focused and in the moment on what he's doing, and he already feels like he's got it all together. Even if that was his first time in the gym, you won't notice because he's just focused on what he's doing. He doesn't care what's going on around him. He's worried about, hey, I gotta get this in, I gotta do this. If I do this right, I gotta make sure I'm doing this right. He's focused on what's going on and he's living in the moment. Where the other guy, he's worried about what's going on around him. And it sucks because from our childhood, we were always taught to watch what's going on around us and be aware of it. that's not necessarily how it is with the kids nowadays. Everybody's trying to blindfold them, you know.
Yeah, these kids are just looking at their phones, man. The world isn't there.
The world isn't there. The world is in the virtual reality, and that's why we're getting into VRs, and we're gonna be in Ready Player One, and the world is gonna end. Just
all right, so that was a quick downhill turn you just took there. So let me backtrack a little bit, bring it back to Earth. What do you think about VR? What do you think about virtual reality? Because you got virtual reality and then you got AR. So.
The first time they ever decided virtual reality, I did not like it. I thought it was stupid. First of all, think about young kids hitting puberty, and your son has VR set. Watching porn. What do you think he's gonna be doing? You're gonna walk into him jacking off or something. Like, no, you don't need any of that. It's already bad enough. You gotta open the door and they're on the computer. Oh God, mom! Or in the shower. Oh God, you know, like if they have a VR, they're gonna think they're actually, you know, and it's just.
Have you ever seen the Futurama episode where they have like the sex bots?
Yeah.
And there was like that old timey film that was like, oh, here's what happens with little Timmy. Gets a sex bot, and like he doesn't go outside and play sports, he doesn't hang out with friends, he doesn't go out on dates.
Do nothing no more.
Shit, he's just there with the sex bot all day.
Don't date robots. Brought to you by the Space Pope.
I mean, like, you're making it so easy for them. So they're never gonna get a girlfriend. If they do, they're probably gonna get one of those robot girlfriends that are invented nowadays. Yeah. Because you don't gotta hear them talk. I mean, it is what it is.
You don't gotta hear them talk?
We talk a lot.
She said that. I did not say that. The female voice of this podcast.
All for women and stuff, but we gotta admit, we are a little bit annoying. Guys are not perfect, they're annoying as shit. Okay? Especially when they're sick. Okay, we can get into all that stuff. Quick turns on that stuff, topics.
Back to VR.
VRs is it's too much. It's too much, and I don't think technology ever needs. Why are we putting so much so much work into enjoyment of technology, entertainment of technology? Why not put all that knowledge into finding solutions to make our lives progress in the right way? Like, oh, okay, we can sit here, and now we can just sit here on the couch and be in my job. I could be doing this. You know, I could be going shopping. Why are we taking away from shopping, where people have jobs? Why are we taking away from farming, anything like that? Anything outside of the virtual reality? Because now you're not doing it. Your life. All these kids are getting trained. They're not gonna want to work. What's gonna happen to our planet?
I mean, things are just gonna have to change because there's no way to stop technology. I mean, there's been people. They could
be going in the right way to help us. Like instead of making VRs, they could have been making something to help the farm life. You know, like growing stuff without using GMOs. We have the technology to do all this stuff, making things easier for people to move around, to build stuff, anything like that. But what do we put our technology in? These cell phones, so I can get you to buy a new one every year. The VR sets, stupid shit.
So here's why I like VR. Because I've seen videos of like if you guys can feel VR, the speed of the eye roll. It's insane. The wind changes in the room from how fast you just roll around.
He's never gonna get one, so it's okay.
So I saw a video that made me like, I was like, damn, that's actually pretty cool. It was a construction worker, right? And he's like, here's how I use the Apple Vision Pro to enhance my work life. So he's at the construction site, he puts on the goggles, he's got all his measurements like right there, all the required measurements, it's in a window that's pinned right there so you can see that at all times. And then he's got like pre-guided lines to cut the wood already based on those measurements because it's all communicating and showing it to him right there in real time. And then he also has, I don't know if you've seen this, like it's been everywhere, I don't know who keeps advertising this little tape measure that's got like a digital sensor on it and it tells you the exact length of everything. I've seen it like every 3 scrolls is the damn tape measure.
When you're a mechanic, what comes up on your fridge.
It's insane. So he's got that too. And that's communicating to the Apple Vision Pro all the measurements. Mm-hmm. So he's literally like, he just goes zook, and then the measurement is right there on the thing. Tells him where to cut the wood. He doesn't have to like think twice about it. It's just pop, pop, pop. So it's integrating everything, and then it's keeping tabs. It's like knocking things out as he's measuring them. So it's making.
So he's using it in the way I would see technology.
Right. So I feel like every time there's one of these like huge technological advancements, it comes with the good and it comes with the bad. Kids are always going to be kids. And
they're there for the entertainment aspect and stuff. Yeah. But that's what they commercialize too. It's not like they show, oh hey, you know, this can help you guys do this and stuff. They don't get into that depth. They want you to figure that out. You know, like, hey, that's portrays to you. But they can show, oh hey, it holds your measurements. If they've showed that video as an advertisement, how many more adults would be more into buying that VR set who are not big in technology? Anybody that's in architecture.
I'm sorry, what was that? We're gonna edit that part out. Architecture. What is it? You want me to put the needles on your back?
Oh my god.
Architect. Acupuncture.
I'm going everywhere. Hi. This is a fish, you guys.
Yeah.
Just circle around some
So
other
VR. So besides VR, what do you think about how the world is changing? I mean, this is an election year. So in a couple months, we're gonna have a whole new president.
Listen, I've never been one to be into politics. I've learned at a very early age, those are things that you just don't talk about. And again, being in the service industry and all that, you never talk about politics at a bar.
Right.
Because all it does is start arguments or debates that turn into arguments.
So here's the thing, right? I never understood though. I mean I did as a kid, where it's like you don't even give a crap about politics because it doesn't matter to you. But
it's not that
as an adult, you realize that
it matters.
These are the people making laws that affect you at the end of the day. Whenever you're trying to live about your life, those laws are gonna affect you. So it's the same thing about people that don't know about the stock market. Like those things are going to affect you. You know what I mean? Whether a business is up or not, like it's gonna affect you whether you know it or not. So if it's affecting you directly in life, why not take the initiative and learn as much about it as possible?
No, exactly. That's not a problem.
I'm not saying you need to be out there in the street waving American flags, you know, with a little baby. The baby still got the baby still has placenta on it, and they're holding it up to the sun. Like, come on, man! Like, you don't need to do all that, but you can be informed. You can be informed about it, and you can learn and just not be like, oh, I don't see it. It doesn't happen.
To it either. Yeah, like you don't want to not know what's going on in the world either. But like what I'm saying is, I'm not into politics to where I go vote. I'm not registered to vote, and a lot of people are like, oh, you're hurting the country and da 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 because. Well, I feel like there's enough people right now that are making these decisions that adding another one is not going to make a difference. But I know that's a whole nother.
That's the worst way to think about it, my love. So first of all, the electoral college is the one voting for these people. So listen, your vote really doesn't matter.
I really don't want to go into why I don't like voting because a lot of hate will come from it.
Here's what. Like voting for the president, dude, your vote does not matter. Like
that's what I'm saying.
That's going something else.
That's what I'm saying. Like voting for the president, like
all the minor stuff, like your city councils and those things, like actual bills that are getting passed in your state. Those things you should definitely go out and vote for because that's going to affect whether it gets passed or not. President, dude, that gets decided by like they cut a chicken with his head off and they throw it at whatever name it lands on.
Like, that's what they make you like. Oh, we're just gonna vote so you can vote for your president. I've never, even as a kid, I thought it was dumb when. I'm sorry, but when you're like teaching, teaching us this stuff about voting for the president because election year, I graduated in 2012, so election year always happened every 4 years, you know, so it always happened in a big year of mine, right, my freshman year or whatever. So, and Hoozle, they sit there and they give you this little map of the United States, right, and it tells you, oh, you have 3 representatives on this state or 2 on this one. Right. So at the end of the day, if let's say me and him are the representatives of Florida, and everybody's giving our votes, and we got 75 votes for who was it? It was Trump and Biden, which it is again.
We'll say guy 1 and guy 2.
Guy 1 and guy 2. 50 people on guy 1, and
we'll say the senior citizen and the Cheeto.
And 75 people on guy 2. Huh. Alright. I don't really like guy 2. Do you like guy 2? No, you don't like guy 2.
Right, even though everybody said guy 1.
We agree. Yeah. So let's just okay, well actually it was 75 this way, 50 this way. Who's to say?
Right.
Who's sitting there watching like, yeah, like, hold on, I could convince somebody real quick. How many people can convince somebody to change their mind? A lot of people can do that. So
I love how politics is basically a Godfather movie in your head. It's amazing. All these like vindictive family ties. And, all right, so Yeah.
But yeah, it is.
I get it. It really is.
Let's go down to
It really is.
the victim and family ties. We're all up there. It's all the same people every time.
We are tackling so much in this first episode. This has been crazy. Now we're talking about conspiracy theories, yo. You tune into Quick Turns and you're gonna get hit with conspiracy theories. You thought you were here for customer service. Nah, about the Illuminati. Like I said, when you look at the fact that every single U.S. president has been a Freemason, that tells you something. You know, like, oh, it's just a little brotherhood. I mean, why has every single president?
Why is there that brotherhood? Why can't anybody just? Well, they said, well, you can't. Anybody can just
Anybody,
run.
right? Anybody can
just run.
They tell you that crap since you're a kid. I mean, you remember hearing that as a kid? You could be anything. You could be the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, dude.
Wait, you can go, you can run, you can go make your flyers.
Yeah.
But nobody's gonna show up.
They don't say.
They're not gonna put you on the air for a long time.
Yeah, you could be anybody you want if you join this little group of guys that dress in little weird outfits and do the little chants.
If you don't do what they want you to do, then they don't give you any show, any time, any kind of help. Yeah. You don't get any kind of funding.
And it's all like, I feel like that's all like, let's see how much weird shit we can make you do to have like dirt on you.
It's just like colleges with their freaking
the hazing and stuff that goes on. That's just wild. So many people have gotten hurt and like died because of that crap.
And that's a whole SVU episode on there.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite shows.
Alright, so we're gonna bring it back to customer service. Can you tell me what was like the craziest quick turn shift of yours, like leaving and coming back in like the shortest amount of time?
Okay, so you gotta remember. Okay, so he knows this about me.
Put me there. What time?
You guys don't know this about me, but my life went on quick turns from living with that lady. Okay, like my life was just on quick turns because when I lived with that lady, like she made it seem like everything was gonna be fine, and I was only supposed to pay $500, like I was at my parents' house. I was just there to help her and be a friend for her and be there for her kids. And within a month, I was paying for everything, but I didn't say anything because she gave me her car to take the kids to school and use it for work. Well, then I got approached at Little Hoolies from an old man, and he said, "Hey, would you like a job as a cart girl?" And I said,
Jesus.
"Yeah, no problem." So
I cart girl, like
cart girl at a golf
course.
He's like, "It's in Homestead. Is that any problem?" I'm like, "No, I live in Homestead. What are the hours?" He's like, "Oh, just from 7 to 11." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." Well, I was also already working at P.F. Chang's too, so now I had 3 jobs. But at that time,
so we got Little Hoolies,
P.F. Chang's,
and the cart girl.
Okay, so my life ran on quick turns. I was doing all this shit and never even like saw a dime of it.
Jesus.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I would wake up and get to the golf course. So I wake up at 6, go to the golf course from 7 to 11. Then because I had her
7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Because I had her car, I would drive down to P.F. Chang's. I had to be there at 12. Change in the bathroom. Work 12 to 4. Get my little hour and a half break, so I would go to the movie theater, eat my lunch, and watch a movie, and then have to go to Little Hoolies for my 6 to 5 in the morning shift.
Jesus, that was the long one.
And then go back to work the next day to the golf course by 7 o'clock. So I would get in a total of week of sleep, like I would get like 3 to 4 hours a week. I was just constant. I was drinking so much Red Bull, like it was bad. I was drinking like 7 cans of Red Bull at the time of Woolies, but I got discounts, so I couldn't drink, so I got free drinks of Red Bull.
So you were literally leaving one job, going to the other. You were doing 3 jobs in one day.
3 jobs, but 3 jobs in one day, every day. But then I also got offered because that lady I lived with, she had a friend that was a chef, and he worked for boats. And he needed stew because his stews couldn't come and it was just a day event.
You needed what?
Stewards for like yachting.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you know how to bartend? Do you know how to do this?" And I was like, "Well, I'm teaching myself." He's like, "But do you know how to serve people?" I'm like, "Yeah, I work at Little Woolies." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Can you come down and work an event for me?" I said, "Okay, no problem." So I went down there, worked an event with another stew who trained me. And she showed me how to like fold the towels, make the beds and everything, and and got me ready to go to the owners. So I got to do a day event, get paid for it, and then meet the owners that night to see if I was going to be able to be a part of the team and stuff like that. So you had to serve them too. Now, I was doing those 2 jobs, but those were on call. I was doing that job, but it was on call. But I worked for that boat, and then I started also working. One of my gay friends, Lewis, he was like, hey, I need bartenders on another boat.
Now, that 4th job that appeared out of nowhere, that was
that was Mia.
That was an event?
That was yachting with the boat.
I'm saying, but were you doing that every day, or was that also?
That was just like whenever they had people rent out the charters.
So you have 3 jobs, and now you're picking up gigs.
Now I'm picking up charter gigs, yeah. And then
as if life wasn't busy enough.
It wasn't busy. And then
another,
when I met, not when I met, I worked with my friend Lewis at P.F. Chang's. Me, him, and Laura, my 2 best friends. A gay guy and gay girl. Love them. He told me, he's like, hey, I need bartenders and stuff. So me and Laura wanted to go work for the boat. Laura wasn't a fan of being out on the yachts. She'd rather be the guest. So she worked 2 events and she was like, yep, I'm just gonna come and hang out with you guys when you work. And that was that, because she became friends with a girl that I already knew, that I used to play pool with when I was growing up. Turns out she's the hiring lady. She's like, really? She's like, you're Mandy, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, and you're lovable or something. And she's like, Latel. I'm like, yeah, some weird shit, yeah, whatever. We start laughing. And she's like, well, I know you know what you're doing, so I'm gonna start you off at $15 an hour, but you gotta prove yourself. I'm like, $15 an hour, all right, that's good. Like, I'm thinking I'm in a restaurant, I'm gonna get paid $4 an hour. That's what I'm used to,
Right.
Plus tips. So she's like, you're not guaranteed tips on boats. She's like, on event boats, like, you're not guaranteed tips, but you can get tips. You just can't have like a tip jars and look tacky. So that day, she put me with the head bartender at the time and another bartender, and I was in the middle. And I took control of that whole bar and was just like, hey, pop this one, get this one. Oh, 4 Cokes over here, 4 jackets over here, da. And I'm just calling things out. I'm talking to both the bartenders. I'm telling both the bartenders to do stuff. I have the bar back come back. I'm like, yeah, I need ice here, and the bar up front needs ice. Like, I know everything that's going on my floor. First day. So her and the GM, Michael, who was another gay guy, comes up and they just walk past me and they go, congratulations, you're the new head bartender, $19 an hour, and walked away.
Kind of just threw that
in there.
Pixie dust on you and then
went straight to the head bartender there, said, that's your replacement, start training.
Aye.
So he's like, oh, here's the key. Gave me the liquor room key and then took me to this hellhole. And that was like, I made my own hours and I would go there almost anytime I had free time. If I had a day off, I was there like organizing the liquor cabinets, working. I would get my sister or any of my friends that were in the industry, hey, you want to make some extra money, and I would be able to schedule them for what I needed. But I was saving the boat so much money because I wouldn't book, when we had an event, I wouldn't ask for the whole 8 bartenders to come the day before and set up the bars. I would be like, hey, I don't want anybody. I'm gonna get my sister, and I'll get one of Michelle, who was one of our friends that worked on the boat with us. Yeah. I'll get those 2. We'll set up all the bars. Just tell me how many people, what liquor they're using. I would put the exact number. I don't know how I did it, but I was just good. Like, you told me 150 people were going. They had vodka, this. You told me what type. I put out the right amount at every bar. We never needed to go to the liquor room on my shifts. And I got good at that. And then when I learned that I got good at that and having to order stuff, I started doing that for P.F. Chang's. I started doing that for Little Hoolies when they would let me. I left Little Hoolies and went to Flanagan's, and then left Flanagan's and went to another restaurant. And then I just started becoming the head bartender everywhere I worked. And I never went and got my bar license because you didn't need one in Florida. And nobody ever really taught me how to bartend. I taught myself on that first yacht, Mia, that I worked on. You
never had your license, or I always thought
I never went to a course. No, you do need a license in other states. In Florida, you don't need a liquor's license. You don't need a bartending license. You don't need one of those. You just need to get trained with them. If you're 18, you can serve liquor. So if you know what you're doing, then
that's crazy.
It's an audition. But now this is the shitty part. I have all the experience in the world. I have over 10 years in customer service, bar, everything. You're a bartender a day in your life and you took a course and you get hired, they'll put you behind the bar before they put me. Because you have that piece of paper. So now I gotta prove myself that I'm better than you to get your spot.
That's crazy.
That's the only shitty thing about it.
So it goes back to, like, a lot of people wonder, like, oh, why can't I get paid more for what I do? Or why is it so hard to ask for, like, a raise or something? So it just goes back to just adding value to who you are.
Yeah, and it should never be hard to ask
Nobody
for a
told
raise.
you. You could have just sat there, worked a regular shift, taking care of your little section, and then that's it. It would have been just 8 hours to like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You took it upon yourself to not only run your bar, but run everybody else's bar. Start telling people what to do. So now you're the
make their
voice.
life easier.
Now you're the voice of leadership, and it just also helps that the things that you're saying and the things that you're doing are actually making the shift work.
Yeah.
And saving the boat money, saving the company money.
And that's the whole objective, though. Like, you know, like, okay, obviously working for other people and stuff, it sucks because you're there working for them. But when you're working with somebody else, you're trying to make your place of work the best thing possible. You got to save as much money so they can put in the care for their employees.
Yeah.
Places that care for their employees, they get so much more back from their employees. But it's those little things, like those little gift bags that you do on Valentine's Day for all the women that work with you. And those little things carry weight. That will make people work for you. Buying them pizza or lunch and stuff, yes, that's nice, but it gets old very quick.
There's the famous pizza party, you know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, in aviation, it gets old very quick because, like, fuck, food. It's just food. Like, you know, we're busting our asses out there to give us something else. In the restaurant industry, a lot of restaurants already give food. They make a meal, a chef meal. So what they do is they'll give you, like, Cheesecake Factory, they play bingo. So you'll get a card and you'll have to try to sell each dish. And if you can sell all the dishes, you'll win bingo. And then they give you a prize. And it'll be either a whole cheesecake or a gas card or something like that. Yeah. So they make it fun to make you want to work. And if you don't have that in a restaurant or anything, your employees aren't having a good time. You know, like, they're only there for a 4-hour shift. It's not an 8-hour shift. So they're there just to make their money and go. But your job as, like, an owner or a manager is to get your numbers up, to keep your numbers up. And that's one thing, like, I've always been good at is I can take whatever numbers are bad at a bar and I can raise them up. I can get your customer service up.
All right, John Taffer over here.
No, I can get you. But I have proof of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it. I have my papers from doing it.
So let me ask you, would you ever own a restaurant?
No.
Why not?
Because when you own a restaurant, it's so negative. I mean, the only way I would own a restaurant is if my uncle told me he wanted me to take over his bar. And that would only because I would feel like I owe him that. But I would never I would never go purchase a restaurant or a bar or anything like that. I would never.
What about if you could just be, like, hands off? Like, you just own it. You just show up, pick up the cash, and ride out. Like,
that's what my uncle
you have a good set of managers. You have a good set of general managers.
If you have the team that you can trust, then that's something you can do.
It just kind of runs itself.
The thing is you can start, like, money gets greedy. People get greedy. People, you know, see, like, you don't want to have too many people work for you under certain circumstances. Like, you want to have those people you can trust and stuff. But nowadays, the people don't have the same work ethics as the people that did when we were starting in the work industry. When we started in the work industry, you got to understand that's when it started going down. Before we got there, okay, so, like, when I first started,
it always feels that way, by the way. When you just join something, it always feels like you got in too late.
Like, okay, so,
like, dude, everybody.
This is a prime example. In the restaurant industry, I gotta watch my brothers. Both my brothers, John and Josh. One's 3 years older than me, and one's 6 years older than me. They both were in the restaurant industry. John for a little bit, Josh almost his whole life, just like me, right? I would watch Josh as a 16-year-old kid at Rob Bender's in freaking Cutler Bay, very low-key little spot, make $300 easy in a 3-hour shift. Okay, that's a restaurant nobody knows about. When I got in the industry, that's what I was making. You know, Peep Chang's $300. Oh shit, I was like, oh yeah, I'm making money. You know, like
when you first start off, like once you hit the triple digits
and you're getting cash in hand,
you feel like a damn millionaire.
You feel like I'm gonna get there. I can make it. And a lot of
so where do people go wrong? Where do people go wrong?
People fall in love with the money too quick.
They fall in love with the money. So how do you avoid falling in love with the money?
That's the hard part.
So you're brand new to the waitering thing, or the what is it, service industry, right? And out of nowhere, you're leaving with $500-600 a night.
Well, wait, let me go on to that. Like I said, now the industry's not as good as it was. Everybody thinks that restaurant people get paid hourly. They do get paid hourly, but they don't get paid the full hour. All right, I want you guys to know that. So at a restaurant, typically, okay, you say, what's minimum wage right now? Like $14 an hour? I don't know. That's like McDonald's or something.
Shit.
How much is minimum wage?
It's like $11.
Okay, $11. So you have to understand that at a restaurant, if you're making if they say, oh, you get paid minimum wage, it's $11 an hour. That gets cut in half because you make tips. So they're only getting paid $5.50 to $6 an hour, plus whatever tips they get. Now on the tips, they make you claim the tips, so now you're getting tax deductions out of the tips too. And there's ways around it to where you can do it, but if you're doing it absolutely correct to where you're claiming 100% of your tips
like an idiot
on cash and on card, it will zero out your paycheck and you will have $0. And I have references. I could show you my little Hulu pesos that were zeroed out, and finally somebody came up to me and said, you're doing something wrong.
People don't understand that. Like, imagine working 2 weeks of your life, 40 hours a week, and your check comes back $0.
Like, you can't rely on
$0. You didn't work shit.
At a restaurant, you cannot rely on a paycheck at all, and that's where customers need to understand that. You know, customers need to understand, like, these people, they make the money off of the tip you're leaving. And that's where when we started dating, I used to get him looks. Like, what do you mean you're only tipping $3? No, you're only tipping $5.
Yeah, putting me on blast
Put
right
it
now.
up.
Listen,
Put it up.
you better be doing backflips with my drinks if you want a 20% tip.
The first time me and him went out,
you better come out full jamboree.
I paid for the drinks because A, I drank more, and B, I like to take care of my bartenders. Because again, you look out for them, they look out for you.
She was out here tipping $20 on one round of drinks. I was like, what is going on here?
Did we ever wait for a drink again?
No, I guess not. I mean, we got great service, but I feel like a 10 would have done it too.
No.
A 5 would have done it too. You know, like.
They know you're in the biz when you give them a dub right away.
When you shoot a dub. I mean, that's a good tip. If you're ever like in a new place and you want to make sure you get good service, tip $20 on that first round, and you probably won't have to worry about it for the rest of the night.
They won't. They're not gonna expect more money at the end. They're gonna give you the service because you already took care of them. They already like, oh shit, I just made $20.
The expectations were met immediately. You know what I mean? So
obviously, I'm not saying don't tip after that. If you're still drinking a lot, like one round of drinks, and you give $20.
Okay, so how many rounds does that $20 cover here?
If you're drinking by yourself or with a couple.
It's you and me out at a bar. How much is that $20? Like I said, one round. That's it. The second round.
I say $5 every 2 drinks.
So that $20 will cover 4 rounds of drinks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, because if you're by yourself and you get one drink, you're only tipping 5%, 2%, or 5% of the thing. So you're only tipping $2, $3. So $5 is 2 shots. Okay. 2 drinks, a beer and a shot, whatever. That's how I've always seen it.
Quick bartender math right there.
That's how I've always seen it. Now, I've also seen it. You are the only person that can fuck up your own money. Alright? You can walk in with a mindset of, I'm gonna make this much money, and that's either exactly what you're gonna make or not at all what you're gonna make. You can't go in like that. What your job is to go in and be like, every table I get, it's gonna be $20 or more. If my service doesn't meet that $20 at that table, I did something wrong. Find out what you did wrong. Not by harassing the customer. Hey, why didn't you tip me? I've seen that so many times. You don't understand. And like some restaurants will let you do that. Some bars will like let you call people out if they don't tip you.
That's hilarious.
All right. Other places like Fleming's or like P.F. Chang, they don't want you chasing their fucking customers out the door saying, hey, you only tip me $2. What the hell is wrong with my service? You got some issues with me? Like, this is what would go down.
Chopsticks at them.
Oh, like, you don't, like, the stuff you see in the restaurant industry will prepare you for anything in the world, for sure. You see everything. And
you see people when they're hangry. You see people when they're irritated. Like,
you see people.
You see families that are frustrated because the kids are screaming.
You see all types of stuff. You see people.
You see couples arguing because they had a bad date or something.
You see couples trying to have sex in the closet area.
All right, I don't know what kind of restaurants.
Bars too.
Going on here, but
bars too. Okay.
So what was, now that you brought that up, what was the craziest thing that you've ever seen?
Well, you're gonna be like, oh, she's not tuning again. Okay, so little bullies. You gotta understand, like, that was like the first.
Every time you say that, I'm gonna have like a thing pop up on the screen.
That was like the first bar I worked for. The place before was like I told you, like a Dave & Buster's. But that was the first bar I worked for, and it was a bar that was up until 5 in the morning.
5 a.m.
Okay, so you know everybody and their mother in that area. So it was by the Falls Mall in Kendall. So everything closes by 10, 11 o'clock. All the restaurants. The latest restaurant was Ale House, and they closed at 2.
Okay.
So everybody would
literally end up
at Hooley's. Yeah. That was the spot. Everybody was there. I understand a lot of people in the restaurant industry, a lot of people do drugs. But in the restaurant industry, you will find more drugs than you can imagine. That first year, I would literally walk in the bar and walk around to serve my tables, and I would find dime bags on the floor of coke, and the dealer was the chef, right? Yikes. So we would find these bags. It was a game for the girls to find the bags on the floor and give it back to the chef so he could sell it back to the same guy. He's like, man, I lost it. And oh, don't worry, man, I got another one
for you, bro. It's the same exact. Wow.
And it would just go. So then he would look out by, hey, you guys hungry? You guys want food? And he would hook it up with food. What else would he do? He would take the pressure off the dishes off of us because the girls had to do the dishes. He would wash the dishes. So now that means the girls are free to go behind the bar and help the bartenders with the bar dishes. So now that we don't have to tip them as high because, hey, we're helping out with the dishes. So it was all little ways for all of us to save money in our pockets. So now we don't gotta spend money on food. He's washing our dishes, so I don't gotta worry about that. I can go wash the bar dishes. And now when I'm washing the bar dishes, the bartender, you don't know how to tip, you wash my dishes today. But so now I just saved 8% on my sales, right? Because you have to tip the bars off your sales.
Yeah.
So it would be like 5% or 3.5% and shit. I'm like $200, $300 because my sales would be up. If your sales was under $1,000 at Hooley's, you got fired.
Oh my god.
They did not play. You came in, I come in without like makeup on. He came up to me and he was like, no, go home. And I'm like, what do you mean no, go home? He's like, do you have makeup in your locker? I said no. He goes, either go to the Walmart or Walgreens down the street and go buy makeup and put it on your face and get a hairbrush and brush your fucking hair or get out of my place.
Oh my god.
And I was like, are you serious? He's like, look, I'm talking to you like this because you should know better. I told you when you first started here, you had to come in and look a certain way. He's like, you should know better.
Kind of toxic masculinity.
Now again, he had a personal thing because I was their babysitter, so he felt like I blindsided him. I just got off of my other shift. Like, I'm fucking tired. I don't want to deal with your shit right now. like, dude, okay, I'll go get some stuff. So I had to go to the store and stuff. Yeah. But I seen him do it to other girls. Not like aggressive like that unless he had that relationship with them. But he would be like, hey, if you're not gonna do your hair and stuff, you can't work it.
Oh my god.
Like, you have to present yourself. Because if I didn't have makeup on and stuff and you came to the bar, you're not attracted to me. I'm not trying to make people look at me or anything.
It's all part of the experience, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it really is. Nobody's there to. Everybody's there expecting a certain level of something.
But like you say,
you know what I mean?
Guys go to bars to flirt with girls, right? That's what you say.
No, not necessarily. Guys go to bars to go to a bar. Now, what is a bar? A bar is a place where people are drinking, and it's a safe space to be an idiot because that's where it's appropriate. You leave the bar, now you're drunk in public. You can go to jail for that. You're drunk in a bar, it's perfectly fine. All close to wrong white. Like, it's all fine. You could be drunk in a bar. So what are the things that come with being drunk? You get people that are act a little crazy, people that do things they shouldn't do. So by saying guys like to go to bars, is saying that guys are willing to accept all those variables and risks.
I'm not saying like guys like to go to bars. I'm saying like a lot of people think.
I say guys go to bars
to flirt with the bartenders and stuff. That is the bartender's job to not do that. All right, you don't want to flirt with your customers because you lose money that way. Because you sit here and you're spitting game at me, and I give you
lose money in the long term.
No,
but in the short term, they see it as easy tips.
They see it as easy tips. That night, you're gonna tip me $20 because it's the first time you're trying to holler at me. I'm giving you attention. Now I give you my number.
Right.
If I don't go out with you, that tip goes down. Exactly. If I do go out with you, that tip goes down because now we're friends.
Right. So long-term misbenefit, short-term benefit.
It's only gonna look out for you that first night, maybe that first week of you talking to that guy.
Or you get the guy that gets strung along for like decades.
Yeah, you have those guys that come to you. Yeah. Or you don't flirt with any customers. You fucking cut that real quick and you be their wingman instead. Like, you know what you should do? You should come on country night. All the girls are always in little shorts. They'll teach you how to dance. Just feel interested. Always country night. I don't want to hear country. Yeah, but there's a lot of pretty girls. They'll teach you how to dance. Then you'll be able to buy them a drink. And then, one thing leads to another. Boom. Now all of a sudden you got all these ghetto-ass people that come at 3 a.m. coming at the 6 o'clock crowd to do country night. To come spit game at girls. Now you got a bigger crowd in here. Now they're looking out for you because, hey, I just missed a girl. And they dab you up with a fucking $20 bill. Oh shit. Guess what? Oh, hey, there's another one over here at this bar next week. Now they're looking out for you every time they come in. Hey, thanks for looking out. You made a relationship happen. Now the couple's always looking out for you. If a couple comes in and you're a girl server, don't ignore her. Obviously the man is gonna pay. But if you don't acknowledge the woman at all...
I say obviously, but you paid on our first day. Yeah.
Okay, yes. The guy...
Some game right there for the guys.
Guys...
Make them pay!
Guys pay most of the time. Out of respect, as a server, you always assume that the guy's going to pay because you don't want to discredit their masculinity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to give the woman the respect that she runs everything. Not saying be like, bow down to the lady, but acknowledge her. Don't just talk to the guy. Just like a guy server. Don't just talk to the lady. Yeah, at the end of the day, because you're a guy, that the woman calls all the shots, but you still want to feel like the man in the relationship. Right. All right. So then you gotta play the ball. And you gotta feel it out, and you just gotta make everybody comfortable. You can't just make that one person comfortable.
This will be the restaurant episode, so I want you to tell the world out there, like, if you had any advice for a 19-year-old that feels like she's talented and feels like she can
get into the restaurant industry,
that she can get into the restaurant business, what's the one advice you have? Besides, I know, number one, don't fall in love with the money, right? That's got to be number one.
Do not be afraid of the knowledge, and do not think you know everything. Act like you're making a fucking paycheck and just hold your money, man, because you'll make that mistake and be in a hole. Second thing is, be a sponge, because it does not matter if there is another bartender. You can learn something from that bartender. Watch how they make their drinks. This person can do this way, and you do it a different way, but that way just enhances the flavor just a little bit. It's these little things that you'll learn from other people. Old bartenders know things off of things called, there's a Long Island, or chupacabra or something like that. One of these old drinks. Yeah, that's a drink. Okay, there's
a drink called the chupacabra.
Yes, there's a drink called everything.
We're looking that up after this, and we're gonna drink it.
You can learn so much more. They might know how to make something different, but just because it's called this doesn't mean you don't already know that drink. You could already know that drink, but it's called something different. So now when somebody comes to the restaurant and orders something old school, like, let me get a Tom Collins. I had no idea what the hell Tom Collins was, but I made him all the time. But when somebody told me a Tom Collins, I'm like, all dumbfounded, deer in headlights, had no idea what they were talking about.
That's it? Those two things?
That's all you need. If you're a sponge and you don't fall in love with the money,
you're pretty much set up for success.
You can become anything you want in that industry. And there's so many opportunities in that restaurant industry. You can get a Michelin stars. you can get your wine license and become a fucking sommelier and make mad money just by telling people, I think it has cherry hints.
Yeah, earthy tones on this one.
You don't even have to be exact on
That
that
is such a
stuff.
scam, you know.
It's not, but people will literally pay you for that.
We'll get into
But
that later,
you guys, that will be it for our first episodes on Quick Turns because we gotta go pick up our kid.
Basically, yeah, we gotta go pick up our son from school in a little bit, so that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. It's
a lot.
This one was pretty much like restaurant themed, and I think that's perfectly fine. It goes with the theme of the podcast, you know, quick turns, and there's nothing quicker than the damn service industry. You guys have any advice or anything that you want to see us do here in the podcast
Or talk about.
let us know, man, for sure. All right, so I'm Rod.
I'm Mandy.
This is Lilo, and that was the Quick Turns podcast.
And we're out! Woo! Oh, I didn't know we were doing all that.
I didn't know we were doing all that either. Yeah!